Welcome to iCommunicate on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN. To join the conversation, call 508-871-7000. Now, here's your host, Mark Altman.
Welcome back to another edition of iCommunicate, Finding Your Voice. This is your guest host, Cole Altman, filling in for Mark Altman today. Today, my guest is Mark Altman, founder and president of Mindset Go. Welcome back, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
Cole, I'm thrilled to be here today. Thank you for having me, and got to be honest, it's a special thrill for me today to have my son being the guest host of a show, so I'm excited to hear you host this show.
Well, thank you, Mark. Mark, I know one of your philosophies at Mindset Go is that we should be more focused on processes than outcomes. Why do you believe this is so important?
Well, Cole, I know we've talked about this in the past, and I feel like the thing with processes versus outcomes, from a very young age, kids are reinforced by things like grades and in school. So if you're getting good grades in school, you're smart and successful. And if you're not, you're not. When you look at being successful as a child at home with a family, are you doing your chores? Are you doing your responsibilities? Are you being trustworthy and respectful and things like that? That's how you're judged in your success. And I think one of the things is especially as you get older and you see on the sports field, winning games, winning trophies, everything is outcome based. And then when you get into work life and you have jobs, you're judged on business and how much revenue are you generating for your business? Are you the most successful company based on being better than the competition, et cetera, et cetera? And so my answer to your question is that when we reinforce outcomes versus processes, we're not putting as much emphasis and energy on the things that really are driving habits, behavior, attitude, work ethic. And that in itself is why I think we need to focus more on processes.
Well, thank you. That was a great answer.
Thank you.
As a mentor for lots of young children, do you think that processes can result in positive outcomes in the future?
Yes, and I think, Cole, one of the challenges we face in school, for example, is there's three people we have to convince and get them to change their habits. It's the students themselves, it's the teachers, but it's also the parents. Because if the students understand the importance of developing these habits, and in a moment I'll use studying as an example, okay? Then if the teachers are also buying in and teaching those habits to the students, but if the parents are still reinforcing grades when they get home from school, it won't work because it'll become a mixed message where parents are still saying, hey, you have to get A's or you're not successful. And teachers are saying, well, let me teach you how to study effectively and let me teach you how to write effectively so you can get those good grades. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. How do you think parents and teachers could better communicate with the kids to communicate the same message and not confuse the children?
Well, I think a lot of it starts on report cards. And I think the report cards, and one of the things about report cards I've always felt strongly about is one of the comments on a report card is often has more potential or needs to fulfill his potential or her potential. And the problem I have with that comment is we don't always know people's true potential, and the word potential is based on past habits of success. So for instance, Cole, if in 4th and 5th grade you are an A student in math, and then all of a sudden you struggle in math in 6th grade and start to get B's and C's, all of a sudden we conclude, geez, Cole's not working to his potential because he used to get A's, and now he's getting B's and C's. And see, for me, the word potential is interesting because everything gets harder and more difficult and challenging as you get older. So just because you were successful at something in 4th and 5th grade does not automatically portend potential in 6th and 7th grade. So I think the way parents and teachers could better communicate this is when they look at report cards, how do we evaluate someone's level of success and failure on a report card aside from letter grades? And I want to add one thing to that, Cole. When I looked at your recent report card, in 6th grade, one of the things I noticed is you're not getting letter grades. Each category in science and math and English and such is broken up by different categories of success, such as listening skills, such as taking initiative, participating in class, different things that you're doing, reading comprehension. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. So when I look at the Westboro school system and the way they're evaluating a sixth grade student, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We're not saying, well, Cole, you're getting an A. We're looking at all the things that would allow you to ultimately get better outcomes.
So, Mark, are you saying that it is the little things that can make a huge outcome for a younger child or just an adult?
Yeah, both. And so for me, Cole, if you were to come home from school, one of the things I try to teach parents and professionals is when you come home from school and you say, Dad, I'm really proud, I got a 92 on my test, my answer is, great job, Cole, but how did you do it? How did you pull off that 92? And what I'm looking for you to say, as you know, in those moments, is I'm looking for you to tell me what your preparation level was to get that 92. So anybody can get a 92 because they're naturally smart. Anybody could get a 92 because that particular subject matter was really easy for them. But the question is, if your son or daughter comes home from school and says, well, let me tell you what I got a 92, how I got a 92. I got a 92 because I reread the chapter. I took excellent notes in class that helped me study effectively. I studied 30 minutes a night for the 5 days leading up to the test. I did some review with a friend of mine in class so we could kind of test each other. Those are 4 things right there that are part of your process. So if those are the habits, then when you get the 92, if you're doing those habits repeatedly, you're going to most of the time get 92s. But if you're not, and it's just natural ability, or if it's luck, or if it's just certain comfort level with the chapter, then that's not going to necessarily indicate future success.
Well, as your son, I have heard many times that you have said, even if it works out, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So even in basketball, if somebody takes a really long shot and they make it, it doesn't mean they did it the right thing. It just means they made it.
Well, Cole, that's actually a great point. And I think when we're talking about sports, and so many kids enjoy playing sports, boys and girls, and I think what it comes down to is kids are so easily have their confidence shaken, okay? So if a boy or a girl has success in a certain sport, and again, most kids attribute success to scoring, right? The outcome, I scored goals, I scored baskets, whatever it is. So when kids attribute their success to that, and then they go out and play a game and they score no points, they walk off the court thinking they didn't do anything or contribute. When in basketball, for example, they might have done a good job rebounding, or they might have done a good job passing, or they might have a good job playing defense or setting picks and things like that. And so if kids are identifying all the different ways they can be successful versus just the immediate and obvious outcome, that is a huge confidence builder and really, again, will build a person's self-esteem and passion in a certain area.
Well, I can relate what you were saying to the NBA because if somebody has 0 points but they have 20 rebounds and 20 assists, everyone thinks they're not that good because everyone in the world thinks that points and scoring is the way to success.
And I think a lot of it, Cole, is, especially in sports, is that the most obvious thing people do to get better in sports is practice, right? I got to go to practice. I got to practice. But everybody does that. My thing, if you're going to be good in theater or sports or music, the question is, what are you doing when you don't have to? So when you show up to practice, you have to do that to participate on a team. But what are you doing on your own to are you voluntarily practice? For instance, again, in basketball, are you going out in the driveway on your own and playing for a half an hour and working on your skills? Are you watching YouTube videos to see how other people do it? Are you watching games on TV or live and observing how other players that are better than you are honing their skills and trade and kind of observing and watching? So again, there are so many processes and steps that you could be doing to get better, but if you're only just attaching your success to that bottom line of outcome, again, it does not lend to future growth.
So are you saying, Mark, that it is different if with voluntarily wanting to get better and like getting made to get better? So if you want to get if you're made to get better, you're not going to voluntarily do it because you don't want to.
Yeah, and Cole, I'm going to compare it. It was something I was thinking about this morning. I'm going to use things that we want kids to do, like good hygiene habits, like taking a shower and brushing their teeth and cleaning their room and making their bed and things like that. And so I think what it comes down to is if you're always finding you have to nag your kids to do that, if they do it, they're doing it for you so they can stop hearing you nag. They're not doing it for themselves and understanding the value for themselves. So one of the things we've done is make a list so you can create a process for yourself so you can get in a routine and habit and also understand why it's important that you have a clean room. Because if you don't have a clean room, you walk into your room and it feels like chaos. And the day can be very stressful. So understanding the intrinsic motivator, Cole, of why people want to develop those processes and why they want to set themselves up for success is very critical also in terms of growth.
Well, that's a great answer, Mark. I'm here with Mark Altman, president of Mindset Go, and I'm your host, Cole Altman, and we will be right back after the break.